Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raw Live Health Show. And today I want to talk about this video by a fellow that calls himself the Vegetable Police. And this title, Who Will Be Right in the End? And my channel here promotes a raw vegan diet. And I've been doing that consistently now for many years since I've been on YouTube. Not flip-flopping, not going back and forth. There was a time where I stopped being 100% raw vegan for experimental reasons, and I come to the conclusion that I was correct. The raw vegan diet is the best diet for myself and for many of the conditions I help people deal with. Now, before we get into this video, I do want to say that, it's calling something a diet is very interesting, because a diet, to me, is normally something that you're trying to do for a short amount of time to lose weight. But we use the word raw food diet or paleo diet or vegan diet or carnivore diet. It's really not a diet or a cleanse. It's, everyone's trying to find what works best for them in terms of the way they're eating. And a lot of people aren't even trying. A lot of people are just could care less, and they're not even thinking about it. But there are people that run into situations and they kind of figure out that maybe what they eat has something to do with their condition, and they understand the concept that if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So some people eventually come to the conclusion they want to change what they're doing. They make the connection that the diet they're eating has something to do with the result they're getting. Now, most people don't even come to the connection between diet and health. So big thumbs up to those people that figure it out, because it does. And they go against what the world teaches. The doctors tried to teach me that diet had nothing to do with it, and they weren't successful. I figured it out. So anyone who's looking to change their diet to get better health, big thumbs up to you, because you figured it out that there is a connection between your diet and your health. Now we get to the next area. What diet is going to improve my health, not make it worse? So one thing pretty much everyone that figures out diet has something to do with their health comes to the conclusion that the standard American diet, the way that people don't care about the topic or haven't made the connection, is not working. Something has to change. And everyone seems to get results in what they're changing, no matter what way they're changing, because they all have something in common. Every type of diet out there, the raw vegan diet, the vegetarian diet, the paleo diet, the carnivore diet, they all have one thing in common, which is giving them results from what they were doing. And that answer is they're all leaving something out. So before people made the connection between health and their diet, they weren't leaving anything out. They were eating anything, and they couldn't care less what people said about food and diet, because they had not yet made that connection. But now people make that connection that what I'm eating has a determination of my health. So they start leaving something out. And if they leave completely everything of a particular thing out, now they can start labeling themselves. So I'm leaving out meat, so I'm a vegan. I'm leaving out carbs, so now maybe I'm on a no-carb diet or a carnivore diet or a paleo diet. So they're all leaving something out. Now, the things they're leaving out 100% of the time is not what the issue is, because some people don't need to exclude everything to leave everything out. Like people are leaving all cooked food out, so they're on a raw food diet. People are leaving all vegetables out, and they might just be eating meat. The more we limit the sources of where we're getting our food from, the more we need to understand and make sure we're getting the nutrients we need from what we are still including in our diet. So that's important. But I teach this when I teach about diet is you have to look not just where you're getting nutrients from, because you can get nutrition from everything. What I have found is one of the keys to health is not only how much nutrition is that food going to give you, but also how much energy is your body going to have to produce to get rid of the waste that's left over from that food. That's an important thing a lot of people are missing. So if you're eating something that has a lot of waste left over, and I'll use the word waste, we could use many different definitions of what's left over, but the stuff in the food that your body's not using, the body has to get rid of. And pretty much, unless you're juicing or fasting, everything we eat has some thing in there that the body's going to get rid of. If it's fruit, it's fiber. And if it's whatever it is, whatever diet we're eating, the body's going to have to go. Now, how much work is the body taking to get rid of that? So this is to consider. And when I think about it and looked at it, the food that gives us the most nutrients while using the least amount of energy to get rid of what's remaining, those would be the best foods for our body. And when we think about that, simply I have found it's not complicated. The foods that give us the most nutrients while using the least amount of energy to get those nutrients and get rid of the waste that's left over or the fiber that's left over would be fresh, ripe fruits and vegetables. Those would be the highest foods that I would say the body's going to do the most with and use the least amount of energy to get rid of. That doesn't mean there's no nutrition in something. It just means that overall you want to look at what's the best for our bodies. Now, not everyone agrees with me, and I'm not here to really talk to people who agree with me because you're not learning anything and I'm not teaching anything. But for those that don't agree with me, I watch people that I don't agree with to try to learn something. And if you do agree with me, I'm glad you're watching because it'll encourage you to keep going if you're learning and you want to know. But I've been eating this way now for 29 years as of this video, and it's working for me. And then the question is, well, why doesn't it work for others? And how come this doesn't work for others? I meet people that eat a raw vegan diet and they failed. It didn't work for them. I meet people that eat a carnivore diet and they failed. It's not working for them. I meet people on a raw vegan diet who are thriving. I meet people on a carnivore diet who are thriving, and all the different diets in between. What is the deviation between success and failure? Well, we can't speak for other people because people might say one thing, but we don't know what they're really doing. We don't know. And also, there's more to health than just the food we're eating. I don't care how good the food you is. If you're getting up every day to go to a job that you don't love, hating your life, if you're not exercising, not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be successful, let alone your diet, but at anything really in life. You need to make sure you're looking at all the aspects, the emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of health. So when people make videos talking about diet and don't talk about those other things, you're leaving a big part out. Well, let's get to this video here. So this video, who will be right in the end? And it's by Vegetable Police. And it talks about who will be right in the end: raw vegans, carnivores, the balanced omnivores, starch seekers, low carb, high carb, breatharians. And the list goes on, and that's why it's so confusing about eating today. My goal is not to confuse people. My goal is to try to clarify some things that have been proven to work with myself, and then I've seen work with others, and to kind of research and decide where have people failed. Now, for me, I got into eating a raw food diet because I was sick. I had ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and I tried what the doctor said, and it didn't work for me. So then I finally found a living food diet, and I got better. Really, that's all I need to know. This worked, and that didn't. So now, long term, is it still working? Yeah, it's still working. If it wasn't working, I wouldn't keep doing it, but it's still working. I still don't have ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So these are things to consider. So this person, Vegetable Police, is a very entertaining person. He has a good channel. I like his videos. However, this guy flip-flops day and night. Of one day he's a strong raw vegan, the next day he's knocking veganism for eating a carnivore diet, the next day he's doing a combination of both. And he has charisma in his funny ways of talking about these things, but when you peel everything back, the guy's confused. He just doesn't know. And every day he's changing, and you're never going to get results if you stick to something a short amount of time. You got to stick it out, and he never sticks out anything a long time. 1 week he'll make a whole week of videos about why veganism's the best thing ever. Then the next week it's like, I'm a carnivore now and veganism's not the best thing ever. But I want to break down this video and just look at some of the things he's saying here. And from what I understand, he actually at one time had, it might have been ulcerative colitis also. And I don't know if he still struggles with it or not. But there is an answer if you are suffering from that. I know what I did to get better. And so I'm not coming here to talk against people. I just want to share my experience as somebody who's been doing this for almost 30 years and helping people with diseases or to avoid disease and to get better from disease. And you know, people can get away with a lot. You can get away with a lot. But let's see here what he has to say about this topic. And it's interesting because he goes back and forth all the time. So his question is, who will be right in the end?
Looking back at all my vegan days and the raw vegan stuff and cleansing and juice fasting and fruit-based diets and starch-based and all the experimentation, fiber, bloating, gas hell, I was brainwashed to think that was the ultimate top of the pinnacle mountain. It was like veganism is up here, and then reduce your meat consumption at least if you're gonna have that. Chicken and fish only, no beef. And it's like the pyramid's been flipped upside down. Like
it's funny because it was just like a couple of weeks ago he was talking about exactly what he's saying now. So when he says looking back, every other week he's like on one side of the scope here.
Everything we've been taught is a lie. Eating nothing but the foods that the government scares you away from will likely bring you better results and less doctor visits. But as time goes on, we see that most of the vegans of the past who were promoting it so hard are either not doing it anymore or are not thriving like they should be, or there's not a third one. Does it?
Well, I agree with him. I agree with him. Most people that promoted a vegan diet, even a raw vegan diet, do not stick with it long term. But before you meat eaters start getting excited about that, most people eating any type of diet do not stick to it long term. No matter what type of diet it is. And I think people have more of an issue with discipline and patience than anything. And it's not, oh, I was doing this wrong, so I had to stop it after a week. I saw somebody say, oh, I was eating a raw food diet for a month and it almost killed me. You could eat a lot of things for a month that could almost kill you. I mean, you survived a month. You could eat things that'll kill you in a week or in a meal. But he's going to bring up some example. And, you know, I agree with him. You know, there's a lot of people that promote a lot of things. And he's trying to support his idea of you know, why this doesn't work. And he's using examples from the past of people that heavily promoted a raw food diet or heavily promoted some type of diet, and now you don't see them anymore and they're no longer eating this way. I've interviewed people in my books that have been eating a raw food diet for years at that point, and years later they're either dead or they're not talking about a raw food diet anymore. Now, does that mean the raw food diet doesn't work? Does that mean that my success at eating a raw food diet all these years is just an exception to the rule? No, it doesn't mean that at all. We can pull out all the examples we want. You know, I can give you far more examples of people that do not live a long life eating a standard American diet, eating a diet that's high in animal products, eating a diet that's exclusively animal products, which is the craziest thing. And I don't really believe when most people say they're eating exclusively animal products long term. But let's look at some of the examples he's given.
Does anyone remember Kevin Gianni from Renegade Health? He used to do like all these interviews with the experts and the pros, and it was like everyone had a different opinion on what was the healthiest, but for the most part, it was 100% raw was the goal, but some people could only do high raw, but you're close to good enough as a person.
Yeah, I like the way Vegetable Police guy here comically talks about things. He does put an entertaining twist to things. And he's talking about Kevin Gianni now and just bringing up an example. And you can make a whole video because there are people, there's a lady that makes a whole channel on raw vegans that aren't looking like they're thriving or people that have quit the raw vegan diet. This week, it's Vegetable Police is knocking the meat eaters. Next week, he'll be, knocking the vegans. Next week, he'll be knocking the meat eaters. But Kevin Gianni, who he's talking about, was somebody who did promote the raw food diet and was a really good marketer. But he wasn't doing it a long time at the point that he was promoting it. He's like many of the people, they start it, they get excited about it, they do it, and for what their reason is, they stop. And he's just going to talk about where Kevin is now.
Anyway, that guy hasn't made a video in 8 years. I just looked him up to see. He made a little interview 8 months ago. He is not vegan at all anymore, nor is his wife. They just, like, he was getting irritability and just, like, anger, super cystic back acne, fatigue on the vegan diet that he was promoting so hard. And then he was like, I gotta change this. Something's gotta... He went to a doctor, got some blood tests. I forget the hormone that he tested. It was either progesterone or pregnenolone or something was super low, the levels of an 85-year-old man as a vegan. And he was like, shit. So his doctor is like, you got to start changing your diet. You need some meat or something. He's like, but I'm vegan. This is the best. You don't know what you're talking about. He's like, okay. The doc convinced him to eat some yogurt. Once he had some, that's all he wanted to eat was yogurt. He was like, oh my God, I need this. And then he got his health back eating.
It's very interesting because, the reason why people often fail at a raw vegan diet is they're not doing it for the right reason, and just they're not doing it the right way. And this is what I try to help people understand and try to help people from making these mistakes. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've learned. And when I was into this for maybe 12 or 13 years or so, I don't remember the exact amount, I was feeling amazing on a raw vegan diet. I felt absolutely amazing. But I was always up to the latest technology and understanding. And I got sick with inflammatory bowel disease when I was 19 years old. And dairy was one of the big causes of my illness. I consumed a lot of dairy, ice cream, milk, and cheese when I was younger. And I discovered against my doctor's advice that dairy did have something to do with my condition. And when I stopped consuming dairy and I got rid of other processed foods, I stopped getting sick. But after about, 12 or 13 years of eating a 100% raw vegan diet, it was interesting. I wasn't not thriving on a raw vegan diet, but I started to hear about raw dairy. And I started to hear about all the problems with cooked dairy. And I started to hear that that's why people don't do good on dairy, is because they're getting the drugged up dairy that's in the supermarket. They're not getting the fresh raw dairy from the animal and so on. So I was curious. Even though I was thriving, I'm like, well, if that's the case, maybe a raw dairy won't mess with me. Maybe it won't. And I even started to think about cooked food. I was eating a lot of processed foods when I was sick or before I got sick. I never ate a healthy cooked food diet, a vegan cooked food diet, even with raw animal products or not. So I needed to, first of all, I was curious, but I also, for my teaching and understanding, and for me to give people the best advice possible based on my experience, I said, I'm going to try raw dairy to see if I feel better or worse, if my condition comes back or not, to get answers and not just settle that this is where I am. Because I don't mind somebody who changes and goes back and forth and experiments. But this vegetable police guy, it's like every week with this guy. That's a little too much. You got to give something a try. So I started to include raw dairy in my diet after being on a raw vegan diet exclusively. And at first, it's not that I felt it's not that I felt bad. You know, I felt okay. I didn't feel better. I felt okay. And I included a little cooked food in the diet. I started to eat grains again. I felt okay. But then as it went on, and the whole experiment might have been about a year, and I didn't eat much at all. I'm talking like very little. Very, very little. Maybe a small percent. So little. But I didn't go like crazy off the wall and just started eating, consuming like a lot of dairy. I was just doing a little. And for a while I was doing okay. But then I started to get sick again. I wasn't feeling well again. And I started to develop some stomach issues. And I said, I was eating a raw vegan diet for all those years. And I was thriving. I started adding this, and here I am, not feeling well again. So I stopped. I stopped the small cooked food and the small amount of raw dairy I was consuming. And I stopped feeling bad. I started thriving again. And then something happened where I was deciding, was it the cooked food or was it the raw dairy that was making me not feel well? So I started thinking about that, and I wasn't willing to go back to the raw dairy. I wasn't willing to do it. I didn't want to take another chance. So I reintroduced a small amount of cooked food into my diet, basically just grains, cooked grains, a small amount of cooked grains, and I didn't get sick. I knew it was the dairy, even the raw dairy. However, I wasn't feeling great either. Even though I didn't get sick, but I wasn't feeling as good as I felt on 100% raw vegan. So I went back to 100% raw vegan and better than ever. But I did change one thing up. I realized I was eating too late at night, and I did my research, and I did a lot of research, and I ended up writing a book called The Daylight Diet. Not eating late at night, 100% raw vegan diet, thriving, and now it's many, many years later, and still thriving, no sickness, feel amazing, and looking and paying attention to the other aspects of health. Now, each person has their own story, but what I'm saying is, like this fellow's mentioning, this guy Kevin, who the doctor told him something and he changed and he's not doing this anymore. I could have easily have said, I'm done with this type of diet. I'm done eating this way, and switched and flip-flop or whatever. Thankfully, I have good teachers in my life that are helping me and learning and growing and realizing I was eating too much, too often, and too late, even on a raw vegan diet. And some people say, well, on a raw vegan diet, you're always going to be hungry, so you always need to eat that way. I met Dr. Fred Bishy, and Dr. Fred Bishy, who's now 94, and he's been doing this raw vegan diet for over 60 years, 100%. I became good friends with him and learned a lot from him, and I recommend everyone read his book, Your Healthy Journey, by Dr. Fred Bishy. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to share my story. I'm always transparent. I never hid what I was doing, and I was always transparent. But when I say I've been on a raw vegan diet now for, it's going to be 30 years coming up here, except for that brief time in between for that experiment, I've been true to what I'm doing. Anyone that knows me or hung out with me personally knows that. And I do not promote a 100% raw vegan diet. I promote a raw vegan diet with based on where you're living, and your lifestyle. But I don't have any issue with somebody adding some healthy cooked food. And I meet people where they're at, especially I deal with a lot of people that are sick, and what I focuses on is not making people be superstar Olympic athletes. I want people to avoid disease, and if they have a disease, get better. So I did the research about particular diseases, and if somebody has it, what they can eliminate from their life and their diet and get better. And from my experience, The first thing that needs to go is animal products, whether it's dairy or meat or anything when it comes to dealing with disease. I see if people are getting better by eliminating animals and animal products from their diet, guess what? There's a good chance that that's why they got sick to begin with. So I have a passion and a goal to help people, and I would not tell somebody to do something I'm not doing. But I also understand that not everything works for everyone. Everyone has their own unique situations and everything. So if somebody says, "Oh, I want to do this diet, but I want to eat a little fish," or if I'm doing this diet, or I want to eat a little meat, or drink a little, I don't want to give this up. I don't want to go 100% raw. I'll look at the illness that they're suffering from or the thing they're trying to avoid, looking at all the aspects of everything, and I'll meet them where they're at. But I can tell you that, as I said, the foods that are going to be best for your body are foods that give you the most nutrients while using the least amount of energy to get rid of the waste that's left over, if there is an amount of waste and how much is left over. But without a doubt, no matter what you're eating, no matter what you're doing, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not exercising, and you don't love your life and what you do for a living, the diet might make a little difference, but disease is still lurking around. So keep those things in mind, and let's hear what the vegetable police guy has to say.
Mostly yogurt, and now he says, like, oh, I can eat just meat for a meal. I'm super satisfied, and his wife eats a little bit of meat here and there. She likes vegetables for some reason. I miss farting too. But I feel like I was just part of some cult, some vegan YouTube thing.
By the way, I grow I grow a good amount of my food now. I grow my vegetables, I grow my fruits. I grow a good amount of the food I eat. And sad to say, a lot of the fruits and vegetables, just like the meat in the store, is not perfect. It's far below standards of the way that fruits and vegetables are picked unripe. So people say, well, what are you supposed to do? Grow your own food? Well, you can grow your own food. You don't need a farm. You can grow sprouts inside your house, which I grow sunflower sprouts, and I grow pea sprouts, and you can grow your own food. So there's no excuses. But even animal meats, I personally know people that if they want to eat meat, they'll hunt their own animal and they'll kill their own animal, and they know what they're eating, they know where it came from, and they know what they're eating. Be careful. I won't say 100% don't get fruit from the store, or you shouldn't, but just try to do the research and know where your food's coming from, and do your best to create that source, either grow it or raise it or whatever. That's really an important thing when it comes to this whole puzzle here.
I'm part of a different cult now. It's a carnivore cult. Even worse, probably, but like, these people aren't thriving long term. Some are. I'm open to it. I don't see it in my own body, and the ones I see, they're doing weird stuff. Like certain people, there was a certain couple that I won't mention, but they were very popular, weren't they? And they had a little split up. You can't even guess who I'm talking about. One of them likes to push himself on women illegally as a vegan, super healthy, compassionate vegan, convicted tapist. Oh, I am skirting around the algorithms today. I feel like
I don't know who that he's talking about, but I like the way he said he's skirting around the algorithms, because that was clever. But I don't know who he's talking about, but that's sad. That the whole situation would be sad. But let's hear some more.
like so many people just get sucked into this diet promotion thing. They get known for a certain diet, and they're lying to you about how they feel on that diet, and the fact that they might not even be on that diet at all is a possibility.
I think what he's saying is true here. We need to be careful when it comes to the internet of who we're listening to. And remember, we don't know these people. We don't know what they're doing in the privacy of their own home. I do my best to be as transparent as possible with what I do. And I'm a strong believer in telling the truth and integrity. And like I said, I wouldn't tell people to do what something that's dangerous for them. And to my knowledge, of course, but there are a lot of people out there exaggerating. We'll use the word exaggerating about what they're doing. So we need to be careful. And also, what works for one person, that's based on where their situation is and where they're at. It might not work for someone else. But remember, these people you're listening to, you don't know them. You don't know them. So you got to be careful when you're taking advice. Do the research. That's the key. Test everything. If something sounds good to you, do the research. Don't just do it. Not only the research on what they're saying, but on the research on the person. Do the research.
All I know for sure is if you ever hear someone say, this is the definitive diet for humans, you should be eating this, we'll all live to 200 years old if we all do this, this is perfect, this is how we're meant to eat. That person has no idea what they're talking about. We're very different. There's type.
What I like to say is if you ever meet somebody that says they know everything, they don't know anything. So, we're all learning, and some people call certain people exceptions. No, I mean, there are things that are best for us and not best for us. But there are different times in our lives when we're able to do certain things and not do certain things. So really, I mean, those people that say, well, this is, or I know everything. Well, be careful with that.
I've been learning about these different body types. I'm a type 4 in my personality and my body, everything about it. Like, I need type 4 clothing. This is not it. It's too pale for me. I didn't realize it. I need to be bold and striking with like black or white, like very, wow. That's my type. But I also can eat the same meal every day and be super happy about that. That's a type 4. You're a type 1, you can't do that. My fiance is a type 1. She's more bubbly and happy, and she needs like different colors that are bright, like pink, and I can't wear that. I can't look like her, even though I've tried. So like, she can't eat the same thing every day. She cannot do that. She needs variety in each meal too. Little snacks like how the Japanese eat with its tiny little dishes, but multiple. Whereas
I will say to this that my wife doesn't eat 100% raw vegan, and most people don't eat 100% raw vegan. It's a challenging thing, and there's why are you doing it? That's a good question. Why are you doing it? I have a valid reason. If I don't do well, I get sick, or I don't feel as well if I eat less. If I could eat pizza, if I could eat meat and not get sick, why would I not want to eat it? But it doesn't do well for me, and definitely because I have this situation. So I learned to avoid the foods that aren't good for me, and I won't eat them. But by all means, if somebody's not having an issue and they want to keep doing something, I'm not going to tell them to stop doing that. I tell everyone, do what works best for you. If somebody says, oh, do I need to eat? No, do what works best for you. Now, if somebody's eating McDonald's every day and they say, well, this works best for me because I'm not sick, that's like somebody could be smoking a pack of cigarettes all day and say, well, I don't have lung cancer, so I guess it's working for me. Well, there are certain things that you're setting yourself up for disaster, but sometimes we got to learn the hard way. But if you feel it's working for you, regardless of how extreme you want me to give that example, I understand that you have no reason to change. I get it. Now, I don't agree with the comment when people say to me, it's, oh, you had to change because you were sick. When I get sick, then I'll change. But for now, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't think that's the best way to look at things, because prevention is a wise thing, I think. But again, I understand. If you don't have a motivating thing to make you want to change, why change? I had a motivating thing. I did what the doctors told me and it didn't work. So I had to try something else, and I found out changing my diet worked. And then I found out that if I only eat raw living foods or raw foods, I'm not going to get sick. And I pushed it to the limits and I experimented with it. But I also met people that have been doing this for a really long time that have given me a good guide to know what the best way to do this is. And I highly recommend the book by Dr. Fred Bishey, Your Healthy Journey. And I recommend his teachings. And he's a living example of health and diet and life. And there's a good amount of interviews with him by myself and other people on the internet. Check him out. And let's continue to hear what this vegetable police guy has to say.
I can just eat the one thing every day. We're very different. So, like, none of us know what the hell we're doing. Remember Rob Wolf? We've had a couple scuffles in the past. I debunked his book as a vegan, even though I'm, like, basically following his diet now. He won that battle long term. And I was just looking up to see, like, what's he doing? He has tremors now. Like, he was doing an interview and, like, he was shaking, and I was like, is he on some kind of vibrating ball? Is that a new thing? Like, you know how some people do walking treadmill interviews? I'm like, is this a new thing? Like a vibrating ball that shakes all your cells? He has tremors. I don't know what caused it. Is it like, did he get the freaking update of AI technology? Is that what happened? Because you'd be surprised. My fiance talks about, like, all...
I don't know who this guy is, but I mean, this Rob Wolf guy, but I love how he's skirting around the algorithms here. And his videos are very entertaining, this vegetable police guy. Very entertaining. I've tried to contact him to interview him because he's had, when he was on his vegan kick, so maybe next week he'll be back on that. But, you know, I was talking to somebody earlier. I had a friend that was eating a raw food diet and ended up getting cancer. And it's all tricky and interesting because you could say, well, maybe he would have got cancer 20 years prior if he never eat a raw food diet. Maybe that prolongs his life. Or maybe it just wasn't best for him. So there's a lot of different things when it comes to this end. The key is don't be confused. There's a whole emotional, physical connection to health. And definitely, I have found a spiritual side to it as well, which I see a lot of people lacking. But it's a puzzle that we should be excited about trying to figure out, but not getting so confused that we just quit and follow the masses. And just do what doesn't make sense or do what other people are doing because it's the popular thing to do. So these are some things to consider. Experiment, you know, and see for yourself what works best for you and your body and your situation.
Her acupuncturist field, people you would never think would fall for that, ended up getting it. So maybe he got that, and that's what caused it. I don't know. But it makes me nervous. Like, he was eating a very clean paleo diet, and will he even...
There's not a such thing to me as eating a clean animals in terms of they're toxic. So I understand there's animals that you're raising and you're killing yourself, but they're still toxic because I have other videos that talk about just physiology of the human body and digestion and the waste and the whole process of this. But if you want to say he's eating or he was eating clean paleo as opposed to dirty paleo, I don't know here.
Live much longer. Like, that scares me. Tremors. So none of us have the answer, the definitive, oh, definitely carnivore for long term. Like, what am I gonna die of? What's coming soon? Who knows? Like, my mom has ALS. Is that in my genetic future? Potentially? Like, oh my God. So, like, none of us have the answer. All the fruitarians, will they have any teeth left in 20 years? I don't know, man. So, like, maybe fruit-based is the healthiest? Highly unlikely. Maybe it's meat-based. None of us know for sure. Just all we can even do, because we've been confused for so long, is look at what others are doing, try it, and then see how you feel. And then hopefully you can develop an intuition to where you actually can feel your body and say, oh, I'm not doing so well on that food. Like when
I like what he said there, and I'm in agreement with what he's saying. My warning or suggestion to him is stick with what you're doing or what that intuition is. Stick with it. If you want to be a carnivore, stick with it. Try it for a year. If you want to be a vegan, try it for a year. Don't flip-flop every week or every month. And I'm not saying that to be funny or saying that to be mean. I'm saying that to be stick with it. Give it a try. And you say, well, if something's not working for me, why should I continue with it? I agree. As soon as you know it's not working for you, stop. If you're trying something and after a week it's not working, stop doing it. But don't go back to it a week later or a month later. All right? So
I pee, there's a lot of bubbles in that pee. That's too much protein. Your bubbles should disappear in 5 seconds or you're done for. You're not digesting your protein, so you either need to increase your enzymes or decrease the protein. I can't really decrease it much, or I'm just eating lard. So it's like I need to work on something. So like little tools like that. Pee bubbles and notice them. Look at your bubbles. But don't just be a sheep following the flock, because what works for some might not work for you. But you might find some people that are doing something and you're that same type and it will work for you, so try it. Like I've been trying beef tallow on my skin for like maybe 2 months now.
thank you for watching this video.
It's
if you'd
not
like
helping,
me to respond to any more videos,
a lot of
as
people
a
swear
29-year
by it.
raw
Maybe
vegan,
I'm not the type that is
post
compatible
below in the
with
link,
beef tallow.
and I'm
So
going
I'm
to put
going
the
to
link
start
below
going back
to
to
the
oil
original video that I
instead.
was
Maybe it'll
talking
get worse.
about, and
Who knows?
also the
Life
YouTube
is a
channel
roller
for
coaster,
Vegetable
man.
Police.
So just
Until
go
everybody,
on
have
a
a great
ride.
day and keep
Try
growing.
not to fall off. Put your seatbelt on. All I know is we're all in an experiment, and I hope everybody just makes it to the finish line somehow intact, and you're not all dropping dead. I wish well for everybody. Even though, like, I used to debate with Rob Wolf and attack his book, and I felt like I was...
I agree with the guy in his encouraging message, but I don't know where he's going now with his little comedy skit. I don't know who Rob Wolf is, so I can't comment much on that. But
the superior vegan. I do not wish tremors on him. Like, he should be healthy. That's not karma for eating meat. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't know what happened there. I would love to know. But, like, I don't wish that on him. I don't wish pain on anyone. I hope everyone thrives. Eli from Free Melon Society, I hope he's 300 years old, watching my old videos, thumbing them up still. So not that I have grandkids that will get the money, but just thumb up the video. I hope Life Regenerator is thriving out in wherever he is right now. That guy's a hero. He's standing up against authorities. The courage in that fruitarian man. God bless him. So, like, everybody, I hope you all thrive. Find your path, because we can't guarantee which path is right. You never know if you're on the right one. Just ask God. Just ask him, am I on the right path, my Lord? And he might say yes, he might say no. It's up to you to listen to his whispers, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, I'm going to leave. What's your path? You type 3. Oh, type 3s are crazy. You thumbing up the video. Thumbs down if the guaranteed best human diet is fruit plus meat plus enzymes. That is the ultimate path. Admit it. At least in the summer. Don't eat fruit in the winter. It depletes your deuterium. Look into it.
alrighty, all right. So that was the Vegetable Police guy, and with his information. At the end there, he did say something though that he said, "Ask God." He said, "Ask God and listen." Now, I don't know this fellow's spiritual background, and I can say he looked like he was. He has a comical way of twist of putting things at the end of his videos, but I don't know how he meant it, but I will tell you to Not only ask God, and it's called prayer and praying and developing a relationship with our Creator, which means there's such an important thing. But in God's own writing in the Bible, it says in Genesis 1:29, the food for man is fruits and vegetables. So God has answered, and He's told us. Some of you watching might say, oh, I don't want to hear that. I don't believe in the Bible. That's your decision. That's all your decision. All right? I have a bunch of videos on more topics like that as well. Pray to our Creator. Develop a relationship with Him. He created us. He knows what's best for us. And the more man gets involved in messing with the food before it gets to your plate for you to eat it, or in your hands for you to eat it, the more we have to think. I want to eat food as close as possible to nature. And I don't mean going to eat something unhealthy at the park. I mean grow it or meet the farmer's market who grow it. The less time the food has in between before it gets to you, the better. Try to avoid things in packages, bags, containers, or cans, and just eat the thing as natural as possible. Whatever you decide to eat, or however you decide to eat the things that are most natural, less processed, and pay attention to the other aspects of health as well, like we said. And don't eat late at night, and do the best you can do. I like the vegetable police guy. He didn't promote all this stuff about making money, so big thumbs up to him. I like his videos. I don't like the confusing message he often sends, but he sends it with a lot of humor, so I appreciate that in his videos, and he brings up topics that make you think. So thank you to Vegetable Police Guy for making us think. Thank you for this video, this topic. If anyone watches has a comment about this, post it below. If you're not subscribed already and you'd like to subscribe, you can do so. I have a lot of interviews with the long-term raw fooders who are thriving and have been doing it for a long time. You can go check them out. I'm going to put a link below to rawlifehealthshow.com. I also have a lot of recipes on there as well. That's my member site, but I also make all these videos available here as well for you all. All right. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like me to respond to any more videos as a 29-year raw vegan, just post below in the link. And I'm going to put the link below to the original video that I was talking about and also the YouTube channel for Vegetable Police. Until then, everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.